when you meditate,
Yes.
when you meditate and you free your mind, the hottest wires, whatever they are, you go from left, you move,
Okay.
and the thoughts follow. They always follow the hottest line.
The hardest line?
That is the most active part of the brain.
Okay.
When you relax. It might be, yeah, I got the electric bill, whatever it is.
Right.
Or my dog bit my kid, I want to get rid of the dog. So whatever it is, initiates what they call psychodemonic dreams.
Okay.
And when you meditate and relax, you're not very conscious of anything that you're free, and you get different images of your dead grandfather, whatever it might be. That's automatic association. That's what dreams are, based on automatic associations.
No, but from what I'm talking about is slightly different, which is when I sit and meditate, the guidance typically that's given to
You
you.
name the subject. You have to, you can't dream of an airplane structure or meditate on it. So
No.
you see.
No. I think my question is different. My question is, when I meditate, the kind of instruction I go into, I give myself this instruction,
Yes.
which is when a thought comes into my mind.
Did you ever do this when you dream, you woke up and then you want to go back and finish the dream?
No.
You never did
Can
that?
you let him finish what he wants to say?
Yeah, I've answered it, but he doesn't get it right away.
Okay, so
Go.
let me try and see if I can finish my
Yeah.
question and then
Yeah.
maybe try and make the connection.
Yeah.
So when I sit and meditate, what I tell myself before getting into meditation is that if a thought arises, and it's going to come, I mean whether I like it or not, a thought is going to come into my head. And then when it comes, normally one would typically follow the thought or get involved in the next thought and the next thought and just kind of do that. Instead of following the thoughts or creating new ones or thinking of next ones or connecting thoughts with the next thought, instead of being with the thought, the idea of meditation is that try and separate yourself from looking at it as the thought is an external thing and you are separate from the thought, and observe the thought. And what happens is typically when I observe the thought, it kind of goes away, and then, but it fills it right away with another thought. But then again, I'm consciously aware of, with my eyes closed, I'm watching the other thought. And the other one is very powerful thought. Oh, it was so much fun sitting with Jacque and Roxanne. I'm so, oops, don't be carried away. Hang on. Just observe how much fun it was, okay? And then it goes away. Now I gotta call Arijit because I need to still settle the finances with him, and next thought's coming in my head. And then before I get caught up in the thought, observe it. After a while, the speed of those thoughts slow down. And then I get into a little bit of a stillness. It's never ever that I have no thought, but they don't become as irritating as they would normally, or they wouldn't be, making me think about it so much. Now, this is some of the things that happen that when I feel, as you said, my arms don't feel they're touching anymore after about 10 or 15 minutes. I feel a sense of great peace and calmness. Now, here's the impact of a noticeable difference that I can actually jot down and I share with you. When I get into a fight, it doesn't last very long with my spouse. I am suddenly able to observe that there is this other ego inside of me who's fighting with this spouse of mine, and I don't have to fight. So my ability to be much calmer exists. Now, these are some side effects of meditation that maybe science cannot measure it. Right?
When you learn,
let me complete my question. Let me complete my question. My question is, in the cities of the future, when you have things like studies for agriculture and all of those other things, there is this thing that we really can't put down, but is there a scope for centers which will allow people who if they want to go by choice, to learn about meditation?
Can I
It's not a scientific
something
education.
that I've experienced?
Try it.
When I never meditate.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe not in this way. Maybe it's
That's right.
something else.
When I started going to Jacques' seminars,
yes.
yeah, and he taught
Can I
how,
point this up? All right. Yeah.
and he taught how we learn, how we get our thoughts, where they come from, how we get our language, how we're influenced by the outside. After a while, when you understand where your thought processes come, and people don't think it's theirs and they're gifted or they're egotistical, but they understand that it comes from the outside. You have that exact same, I mean, I had that exact, I could have described it the same way.
Okay.
That you start looking at your thoughts, but you even start going further because you start thinking about where that might have come from.
Okay.
What's the cause of them? What it ends up making me do.
Right.
That it's not really your thought; it comes in from somebody else, and you know what's. So you get that same kind of feeling, but it's based more on education, and it when you understand it more so that way, it drives you to a conclusion of being able to think about where you want to go in the future in terms of what you want to teach people, and it's even like when you have a better understanding on how those thoughts come in your head, and it's just like when you hear advertising,
Yes.
you end up, it's an automatic thing running
Right.
through your head.
So it's an external
So when you
thing.
hear music, it's an automatic thing running through your head.
Right.
And that was a good example for me to understand how babies learn and how people just repeat.
So are you saying
I
that
think
it's all
a
external?
much better, yes.
But
It's a much better understanding of the thoughts than the old ways of trying to understand how you think and what you think and clear your mind. I think it's more evolved way of understanding how your thinking pattern is. Because then you can apply it to something, and then you start thinking of what thoughts do we want people to have, and how do we teach that, and you look at other things.
Okay. So then,
And what do those thoughts do to people? What are the reactions they give them? What are the stresses they give them?
okay.
And you could eventually just look at the thoughts as somebody else's thoughts that are superimposed, like Jacque always says, pumped into your head.
Right.
And people think it's real.
Right.
People think it's their thoughts.
Right. It's
But
not.
that way you have a better understanding of,
Everything
not
is-
just meditating and letting them go, and you feel better. You automatically feel more inspired and you feel better, and you have a very different outlook on life when you understand more of how the thought processes work and how you got them. And then with these tools that Jacque gives you, it gives you a way of thinking through all that, and you live in a world of meditation that way, and so you start thinking of what you need to do to make people
Okay.
less stressed, and
Okay. Okay.
because
So
sitting and looking at your thoughts and being relaxed essentially don't really help you go in the right direction for society or give you any understanding of what's going on in your head.
But would there be any opposition to having those kind of?
Well, let me put it another way.
Yeah.
You might understand it differently.
Yeah.
Okay? There are people that all people meditate. They all do.
Okay.
But they don't call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They reflect upon experience. You know what I mean? Just the other day I was out in the woods and I saw a wild animal and I didn't run away. And the animal didn't attack me.
Okay.
Run away. If I watch that affects my values. I thought, gee, I thought they were going to come at me and bite me. So it affects your thinking. All your real experience affects your thinking. It has to be experience. However, when you walk down the street in New York, there are thousands of faces that go by. Does the brain pick them all up? It picks up a lot of them. Those are the people you never met. You see them in a dream, and they're totally different, new. Like, those faces do register, but they don't, unless you're looking for Sam in a crowd, you look for a certain face. But if you walk down or get in an elevator with 15 people, your brain may lock onto those faces, but not your social memory. That is, except when you dream. You'll see people you never knew in a dream. Faces, different body proportions. So where the hell did that come from? Every day you meet thousands of people that you don't expect. But if you're an artist, let's say a real scientific artist, here's the way you think about it. When I look at a girl, I'll say her lips are highly pursed, like that. But Jennifer's lips have a downward movement, down that way. So I do this. And Marion's lips are maximum curve on the outside, like that. So instead of keep looking at the girl, I'll say she has Jennifer's lips, and go, she has Michael's eyes, and do that. It's much faster.
Okay.
If you give lips a classification,
Okay.
instead of keep looking at the girl's drawing, that gives your brain a better way of working. But if you know the human head is essentially round, but there's another half-round ball down here, and then you join that with a full line, not a straight line.
Okay.
And then if you know the eyes are in the middle of the head, not near the top, you're better able. If you know the eyebrows are at that angle, the nose, the mouth is here, it doesn't take you long.
I see.
So you're getting new tools to draw with.
Okay.
Like if I have to draw a vase, I just draw on the lips, a center line, and go in toward the center line, now that way. The purpose of the center line is I can maintain balance on both sides of that line.
Right.
So I don't have to struggle.
Right.
Now, let's say Roxanne is holding a book like this, hold it. If she were holding a book like that, I will draw how Roxanne sees the book. She sees it like this, where she's sitting. Just now, okay, and the lettering goes here.
Right.
I don't have to, I can see a person looking at something and draw what they're looking at from their angle.
Right.
But I don't have any magical powers.
Right.
The person that did a lot of that work in that area is called Paul Brunton.
Okay.
And the book is In Quest of the Overself.
It's also that was also there on the.
No, it's not on the list.
It's not.
But it's called In Quest of the Overself. What he means by that, overself, he doesn't describe. But he talks about, I know I went for a walk and passed a cigar store, but when I was walking, I was going to a cigar store. But the overself tells you that Wednesday you took your mother to the library. Now it's Thursday. But you remember you took your mother to the library. That's the overself that Paul is talking about. Then there's a person that can think of themselves watching the overself taking their mother to the laundry, wherever you took your mother. You understand what I mean? So we have laminated overself.
Okay.
You know what he's talking about? What he's trying to talk about? He's trying to talk about old language. We're conscious of something we did.
Okay.
And not just the doing it. When you think of yesterday you took your mother to the library, you know that you took your mother to the library. It isn't just memory of exactly taking your mother to the library. It goes beyond that. Because you're now home and you're thinking about it. So that he called the overself. And he called In Quest of the Overself. What is it? Is what he's trying to say. Then he quotes Korzybski. So if you get Science and Sanity, the book, it goes into a lot, not everything you want to know, but a lot about what you want to know. And then you go into psychopathic personalities. The psychiatrists themselves don't exactly know what it is. So they think it's probably this or that. I'll tell you what a psychopathic personality is. Assuming it's not brain damage. Brain damage when you're sickness, fever, and you see people wobbling. That's how I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about psychopathic behavior. If a normal person sees a rat run over or a cat, that's exciting because it's the first time they've never seen anything like that. And they look at the body and see how flat it is. Wow, that's the most impressive event that happened to that kid. They said, what on earth? And the elephant got one, you know. They begin to think about what's inside the human neck. They begin to go off in all kinds of directions. And then they'll take a kid and cut his throat to see what's inside the neck. But they don't look at the kid as another living, suffering being. The kid had developed a sense of thinking. When I was a kid, kids used to take bricks and drop them on trains as they went by in the underground. First, because there was no excitement in their lives. And they used to take a nail, big horseshoe nail, this big, and put it on the trolley tracks. And the trolley went in, made a knife for them.
Okay.
See, but then they learned more by put a cat across the trolley track. And they put a brick on both ends. A lot of kids did this. But it was always the leader kid that suggested that. And they tied the cat across, and they put the bricks in, and the trolley came by. And it was exciting. That's why kids go to movies and two airplanes crash in midair, and you see them sitting in the theater, wait for that scene, then we go out. Because that's the most exciting. But if you don't build excitement in a child's life, they create their own excitement. And so the psychiatrist says there's a psychopathic problem. It's not that. It's that of a kid. I don't know if you ever noticed this. Kids talk to dogs and cats and say, don't do that, you're going to pee on the floor. Well, Mommy wouldn't like that. They don't know what a cat knows. And kids talk to things, people that aren't there. You ever see that? Kids talk. And if you let that go on a long time, then the kids develop a habit that is unrelated to reality. Like Jacque and the Beanstalk. If you keep reading fairy tales, the kid might say that the bird came in my dream and carried me high, depending on the kind of stories you read the kid. But if you show a kid, dissect a frog and show the liver and the kidneys, then dissect the chicken and show the liver and the kidneys, their thoughts about the internal body is different than the kid that never saw the internal body. Let me give you another example. There's a normal kid, 7 years old, moving up the scale. He's now 13 and a half sexually, but has no direction for sex yet, but is sexually capable. A building bursts into flame. It's the most exciting thing. The kid has an orgasm. Did you know that? And he sets buildings aflame to have an orgasm. Now, if you just raise a dog without other dogs, just you raise it, he'll get up on your leg and try to have sex with you. The dog doesn't know he's a dog. And dog doesn't know that other dogs if you kept them to yourself. If you raise a chicken with a duck as babies, they don't know that the duck thinks it's a chicken, the chicken thinks it's a duck. Because what they see, they don't see themselves.
Right.
So if a chicken sits on an egg, a duck's egg by mistake, and it hatches, a little duck follows a chicken. I said, what? Doesn't it know it's a duck? No, it doesn't. If you raise a duck with a sheep or a chicken with a sheep, as a baby, when it hatches out of the egg, it'll follow the sheep around. Did you know that?
Can you sum that up in relation to the meditation process?
Well, all this is related. You can't think outside of your system. Now, you can dream of something, and you can examine something in a dream. I had a dream once, it was a technical dream, that I had a machine in my shop that was super futuristic. So I said, I woke up and the dream was so vivid that in the dream I looked under to see if it was real, and all the wiring was white. So I got up and walked into my lab, and there was nothing there. When I looked at it with a technical eye. But a person that isn't technical, if they look under an airplane motor, they don't even know what to look for. You know what I'm talking about? You can't meditate on anything that you have no experience with. It won't come in unless you've read about it, saw it in a book, and you don't even remember where you got it from.
No,
but I don't think he's talking about trying to meditate
about
on something, but trying to
the idea that I do,
thoughts.
when the guy says to me, can you make 3D movies without glasses? I go like that and say, what is 3D? I ask, and the answers flow.
Right.
Because I'm technical.
Okay.
If I weren't technical, I wouldn't even think of making 3D movies.
No, but in this
I
case...
don't think you meditate on how to remove a kidney without killing the person.
In fact, the meaning of meditation, as per my definition, is that you basically sit down quietly, relax yourself, but don't fall asleep. You're awake. You're completely awake. But the idea is not a focus. No, it's not daydreaming.
You don't want to think about anything. You want to eliminate your thoughts.
Without force. without force.
But that's the
You
idea
don't
of
want to reject the
meditation.
thought.
You don't want to,
I know what it is.
No,
well, you keep coming back to something else.
Yeah.
because
Coming back to something else, because he might get it through the something else, but I'm not getting to it.
No, I'm getting. I think. Okay, so let me try and say this again. When I meditate, when I'm going to the space where I want to think of nothing,
Something comes in automatically.
and that doesn't matter. But what that does over repeated times, like if I do it on a daily basis,
Yes.
after about 3 or 4 days,
You can go that faster.
no.
No, you get.
My rest of my life in the day
Yeah.
is much smoother.
You can eliminate the verbal talk that's going through your head that stresses you.
It's kind of cleaning up my garbage,
So you
cleaning
don't
up my
pay any
trash.
attention to the words that are coming through. You just let it go. That's
So when
what
I do
understand
meditation,
to.
the rest
And
of the
it
day,
relaxes people, enables them to do whatever they're doing more
better,
concentrated.
more efficiently. Like if I were to do something on a daily basis, if I were to meditate and do that on a daily basis, I would certainly, my efficiency level starts going up.
They don't pay attention
This
to
is
the
some-
clutter, and you can
Yes.
practice that when you're not meditating. You
Right.
can eliminate the clutter and not pay attention to.
Now I don't know why this happens. I don't have a unit, a device to measure what happens. The gentleman, the Yash, the boy, the young chap, he said that they put wires in people's brains to measure something. I have no proof of
Well,
that.
they don't know what they're measuring. so
I don't
they think it's
exactly.
something significant.
Exactly. So I don't even know what they're
Let me
measuring.
come at it another way.
Okay.
You said that made the connection, or it doesn't.
Sorry.
Just tell me,
Okay.
I got it, I
Oh.
didn't get it.
Okay.
It's still not what I mean. That's what you have to do. So the other thing is this.
Yes.
You can't meditate on pressure transducers at all.
Right.
If you did nothing, what happened? You have to have some reference for what you meditate.
No.
You don't understand.
The question.
You don't want to meditate on anything.
On anything.
You don't want to think
I
about
answered
anything.
that before when I said it automatically comes in.
I know, but
There's a-
whatever comes in during meditation,
Is
you
not to
want
be
to
attacked.
not pay any attention
You
to
want to let it go.
and stop thinking about it immediately.
In
The
fact,
whole idea
without
of meditation is to eliminate those thoughts that come in.
eliminate would be a strong word. You
Wow.
want to let it go is a better word. Okay, so what I call meditation is
And
when
then
the
you
thought
relax.
comes, you want to because it's a whole relaxing experience of 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You don't want to hold on to any thoughts. You don't want to reject any thoughts. You want to just let it go.
Let it go by.
Let it come. The next one,
You
yeah,
don't
and the
want-
next one is going to
you
come
don't
right
want
in.
to concentrate on anything.
You just want to observe.
You don't want to
I think
ride
the best
the
way,
thoughts.
the best way to describe the meditation
Dream.
No, it's not a dream. Okay, well, I'll tell you the difference between a dream and meditation. A dream is autopilot.
Yeah.
This is not autopilot. This
You're
is
asleep.
yes, I'm not asleep. I'm totally awake. I'm as alert as I can ever be.
Yeah.
I'm totally relaxed though. But when the thought comes autopilot, my the work is to not work is too strong a word.
It's
I
like
just
having
I just
second-
be an observer, like I'm watching a movie.
Yes.
Really. But I don't get involved in the movie. I get involved. Oh, look at that guy hit it. I'm in there. It's like as though I'm part of the character. In meditation, you want to be able to see yourself as two separate things. One is the thought guy.
You watch your thoughts.
And you watch your
and
thoughts.
You try and,
You're an observer
you
to
try and
see
not
what's
think about
You
it.
don't
And then,
understand. They're not your thoughts.
well, that's what I
Whatever.
was trying to say.
Yeah.
When I understood that those thoughts weren't my thoughts through your way of teaching, you have that meditative process all day long. It comes into your head, you look at it, you try and think
Don't pay
of,
attention. It's
you don't pay any
automatic.
attention to it and you
That's
just
right.
let it go. But at first you have to practice it. And you can be walking around, you don't have to sit and meditate.
Exactly.
But if
My
you
wife does that.
understand the thought process, and if you understand it the way Jacque talks about
Okay.
it, you understand why you have those thought processes. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you're looking at it scientifically.
Yes.
You're looking at it through ancient methods of relaxation or whatever you want to say.
Okay.
But if you understand it, your head automatically does that. But first you have to practice. You have to think, you have to stop getting upset about this person, then you start understanding why you're reacting that way, and you think about behaviors and why they react that way, and then you just let it go because you understand certain things. So the more you understand things, and the more you understand why you have those thoughts, you just don't ride them anymore. I
So-
don't know if I'm explaining that well, but
So you're
You do
saying,
that automatically.
yeah, but my basic question is, even in the future, with ideas.
No,
that I
you
take
don't
from-
go out and meditate somewhere. You have a better understanding of why you think the way you do, what might be relevant in your thinking process. Like what Jacque is trying to tell you, instead
Yes.
of meditation
Is
and
to-
eliminating irrelevant things of everyday things you have to work on, you learn things that are relevant and you start to think about those things. And those things inspire you, those things relax you, those things give you vigor in life. But you surpass just trying to stop your old everyday chatter,
Yeah.
and you take on things that are relevant. But I think that only comes when you learn what these things, you learn about new things that are significant. Not knowing what's significant, the old chatter makes you a nervous wreck because you have no tools to look at your life with. You become stressed out, you don't know what's significant, what's not significant. You're just trying to relax and let that go. But you still have to come back to the bills you have to pay. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But this gives you a better use of your mind.
Okay.
I think that's kind of
It's a
what you're
different
saying.
type of training.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, in the very early days, if your grandfather died and you were very close to him, and you go to bed that night, you will dream of your grandfather. But you won't dream of your great-great-grandfather.
Right.
Because you never knew him.
Right.
But it's the same with meditation. You can only, these images that go by have to do with the autonomic nervous system that makes those images go by.
Okay.
And you're entertained. Do you know that a human being that talk to themselves a lot,
Yes.
they say, gee, why did I go out with Betty when Marion did so many nice things for me? You know,
Right.
they review things.
Right.
And meditation is when you step out of your industry, whatever, or your school, and you reflect upon it. That's called deliberate thinking. But when you don't reflect on it, ideas come into your mind anyway. You don't have to think it. If you sit back and relax, automatically things will come into your head. You don't need it.
I know, but that's not the point of meditation. You're not trying to bring things in your head.
I didn't say you are.
Oh.
But if you do nothing, just sit back, things will come into you.
Yes, but
You
it's,
don't need to do anything.
but
And
that's
you'll be
true, but they're
as
trying to quiet
Now
that.
listen to me. You'll be as entertained as though it was brand new and something you never saw before.
Yes.
It'll be brand new to you. And you can't get anything in talking to a normal person. You're not going to learn anything. If you talk to a normal person, you'll hear the chatter that they picked up. 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8. They can't say anything new. But if a normal person talks to you about things you're not interested in, you will automatically shake your head and be thinking of other things. You know, because I have 2 grandchildren who live in Philadelphia. And one is a boy, the other's a wonderful girl. You shake your head, but you don't pay attention. You know what I mean?
No, I understand what you're saying.
You know, you do.
I do understand.
All right. Now, meditation is something that is not in our school books. It doesn't show how it comes, where it comes from. But I don't know if you were there when I talked about the bow and arrow,
Yes.
where it came from.
Yes.
Do you understand it?
Yes, the stretching thing suddenly turned out to
Bent.
Yes, it got bent.
When they shrunk.
Right.
Now, that's more understandable, a guy inventing a bow and arrow.
Okay.
No, the tree falling over the other tree, when you pull it, the bottom one rolls, is more acceptable to me than a guy inventing a wheel.
Right.
I can't see that
Right.
at all. Since I believe in associative memory,
Yes.
you know what that means?
Yes.
It gets more complex the more you think about it.
Right.
Now, if a guy says, Sam invented a movie projector, I can't imagine that at all. But I could imagine the Chinese doll. Do you know what that means?
Yes, I know.
It
Yeah.
helps me.
Right.
But I don't understand how a man can make a movie with electric motors without knowing what the hell those things are.
So every idea that comes to your mind is because of something else?
Well, let me put it your way. They used to take clothing and put it in the fireplace to dry it when they washed it. And once the shirt went right up the chimney due to the hot air coming underneath it. And that's the guy who invented the hot air balloon.
Okay.
Air balloon.
Okay. that way.
Yeah, everything is that way. But you don't always know what those triggers are.
So can you
don't
give me
know
an
where to
example?
get it. And the guy said, I don't know, I was just shaving one day and I thought of a new glass with a handle on it.
Where
He
did,
doesn't know where.
but where did you get the idea of the circular city?
If I ask you a question, when did you learn to speak? You can't say Saturday.
Right.
Because it's so slight, little by little and long. If I ask him, how come you draw so well? He doesn't sit back and watch every little move he made when he was 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. Kids just do this, look, they do that. Then I say to the kid deliberately, what is it? Because that's Uncle Harry, and this is about. A random motion will trigger something in a normal person.
Right.
Now, people, when they look up the clouds, they'll see a battleship or a silhouette of Abraham Lincoln, but they really will see a future aircraft, unless they are in that field.
He got the city from a gear.
What's that?
He asked where you got the idea of a city.
Yeah,
It came from a
was
gear.
Just type of gear.
But why a gear and a city? I didn't get the connection.
House.
Because the city is not turning like a gear.
Well, this suggested Department of Health, Department of Agriculture. You understand?
Better finish the gear.
That's suggested.
No, I get it. I know the
It's
gear.
just a gear with
Okay.
a lot of teeth in it.
Right.
All around like that. But anyway, it suggested. I was also interested in
He
architecture.
was thinking about it.
Don't forget, if I wasn't interested in architecture, I might see something else. That's why, you know what a Rorschach test is? Where they take an ink blot and go like that, and it comes out, and that's a shark. Well, that's my grandfather.
Okay.
Because people always look for patterns. That's why I drew this, to see if you have the same reaction that normal people have. That's a train coming down the track, but not really enough to stimulate that in your brain. Now I'm going to draw something, you tell me what it is before I finish it.
Okay. Boat.
But if
That's
you
no
didn't
boat.
get that was a boat, I would have done this. And if you still didn't guess, I would write Queen Mary. So how can you make a boat of that? Only if you've seen a boat and know a little bit about boat shape and water. But if you've never seen that, you couldn't do this.
Right.
Now, if I draw something, you tell me what you think it is. The minute you know what it is.
Scissor.
Right.
Okay.
But it's really not a scissor, but there's enough bits on that to trigger the scissor. But if you didn't get that, I would have drawn another loop here.
Right.
And then I would have put some fabric in the middle and have it cut so you know it's a scissor. So if I have to get a person to understand things, if you put 4 thumbtacks in a handkerchief, this is a thumbtack. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah. Thumbtacks.
But in reality, when you put thumbtacks in the fabric, it's got to do this.
Okay. Stretched.
Not only that, but if I put the thumbtacks here, from the source of the thumbtack, there's a dark line, it gets lighter. And there's a dark line, there's another line here, a line there, and there's in-between lines. That's more accurate.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
But the more you know about light, shade, the earth, technology, the more you can bring to the world. So if I ask, what is architecture? What are you trying to do with architecture? What do you want? Well, I want a house to live in. That isn't exactly what they want. They want a house with a roof shaped like that, and an opening. So if the sun beats down on the roof, it sets air currents up, and it sucks the air in, hits the roof, goes out. You get automatic ventilation without a fan in this time. You understand that structure?
It has a, what is this?
Opening.
Opening.
right here. So
Heat
the hot
rises.
air always flows out, bringing cool air in the opening in the bottom, like that. So you don't need to have a fan. So if I lived on a tropical island, I could make better arrowheads than the natives.
How's that?
Because I know more about the principles of it.
Okay.
They don't.
Okay. All right.
They just make it because their grandfather made it.
All right.
And up the Amazon River, they make rafts. You know what a raft is called? Floating in the water, like they did 1,000 years ago. No change, ever. And they make them the same way. And if you go to a country like Tokyo, you see all businessmen in black suits and white tie. That's a very uniform society. So all you have to do is take me to a city, and all the buildings are a different size. I'll tell you, it's personal, not social. A city of no concern for most people. I can tell you, I'll fly over another city and it's thatched huts. And they're very primitive people who live there, because those huts were designed 4,000 years ago.
Right.
Or show me a building and I'll tell you a lot about the architect. But I don't have to meet him. I can tell you he's an egotist by the building. You understand what I mean? But if I look at a building that's functional, you know, it cleans itself and ventilates itself, I'll say somebody has concern with the nature of living quarters. It's more than just a designer. Now, I think I told you about the chair in the old days.
Yes.
With the animal legs.
Yes.
You've seen them.
Right.
So, I, due to my background, disengage from social, the dominant views of society. And as I disengaged, I made a lot of mistakes. Because you can't go off in a new direction without running into a stone wall.
Right.
Which if I did what my grandfather said,
You can draw on the back page.
a lot of
Skipping
things
through a lot of
that
pages.
my grandfather told me were his experiences. And he saved me from the same experience.
Mm.
So that's what books are.
Right.
They tell you what a guy did and didn't work, and that's where I know where I get all my ideas. You watch a thing in your meditation, and you watch it go by, and you're seeing things in a new light. Well, when I think of new things, it's automatic. I said, what is a mirror? And if I can't describe what it is, I can't improve it. I know if you bend the mirror this way, it makes the guy skinny. If you bend it the opposite way, it makes him skinny. Make it this way, he's far away from you. Changing the angle of the glass. If you know all that, then you can predict. Prediction is the ability based on experience. And you have no predictability. If I say to you, how long will your tires last? Well, if you've driven a car most of your life, you say 10 months or 3 years, depending on your experience and how much weight you carry in your trunk. You can't say this tire will last 3,000 miles. But if you carry bricks or solid lead, the trucks will last, the tire will last a month and a half. You know, it's hard to look at that. But if you talk about, if you lock your frame and say a Chevy with 2 people in it at a time will last approximately 3.5 years, then your predictability becomes more accurate. But you have no predictability looking at anything new and saying it'll last so long. You have no basis for it. That's why scientists take metal and flex it continuously, and after 8,000 flexes it breaks. So if you fly an airplane for so many years, there's a process called metal fatigue. Every time you land, your body goes through shock. And all airplane wings, commercial airliners, move about 3 feet when you take off. But after flying for 20 years, moving to there's metal fatigue at the junction. And so to condemn a plane that's 3 years old and not allowed to fly it. The FAA, Federal Aviation Authority, bases their decisions on the age of a plane and records of accidents. There is no other way. But if you look at not an airplane, a submarine, a subject, you can have a better guess than the average person if you study metal fatigue. You can guess at certain things better than other people. If I put 40 coins in your pocket, pennies, you can put your head in there and say there's more than 20, or less than 3. You know, because you don't, that's why human beings make airplanes and television, etc., because they have better guessing, better estimating than a dog. When a dog sees something strange, his head goes this way and the other way. They try to get a different view of it, but they don't have enough neurons to wonder at the interesting of these vehicles not being pushed moving down the street. The dog can't do that. Neither can primitive man. When an airplane lands, you say, that's fantastic. He doesn't say that. He doesn't even think it. He just grins. And if you show a primitive person in the jungle a watch, look at those goddamn gears, how accurate they are in the watch. He doesn't, he just grins and he looks. But he doesn't say, how fascinating, you know. Now the more you know about life, you wonder more. Why does a man kill somebody? He's bad. But when you're a kid, if they say he's bad, that stops you thinking about it. He's bad and the other man is good. That's why he helped the old lady across the street. But what is bad? And they don't go into that. Bad is being brought up under different circumstances. Yes, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. There's no such thing as good or bad, in my opinion.
Right.
I also...
It can't be.
Yeah.
But there can be people that have behavior that's more relevant to the real world. But if you don't know what relevant means, it means applicable. It means predictable. Science is a method of predicting the next most probable. In other words, if you design a bridge, it's based on past experience. And if the cables were too thin and a Mack truck went over, look, the bridge caved in. A lot of bridges caved in before engineering was established. And movie projectors were distorted in the old days. The image was not clear, so they had a focusing lens. Where do they get that? Accidentally. But nobody can sit down and design a movie projector from the old days. Do you know what I mean? That's why if a fish died on a dried out salt bed, it didn't rot away as fast. So they began to put salt on meat to preserve it. And they put peppers in food in tropical country. They season a lot of food. Seasoning came by preservation. So it's very difficult. Like people in science generally grew this time of year. They usually did. Everybody I know. So I grew it this time of year. I used to smoke cigarettes. When I went to science, I used to smoke a pipe. So I bought a pipe. And I hated classical music until I went to visit. We used to have gatherings and they played classical music. I learned to like it by association, but I didn't like it in school when the teacher would play it. But I have a way of teaching kids every bit of the information so they can all draw well. Whenever I had more than 10 kids, they all got 100. There was no variation.
Right.
Only the first day,
Yeah.
the first 3 days. But after 4 days, they all draw good.
Right.
So that means that the communication that I use works better. And the more I apply it to different areas, if you don't know what a fish bowl is, I'll show you what it is.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand it, it's my problem.
Right. Now, my question is that if in the future there are things that we don't understand,
Yeah,
does one reject it or does one say we don't know and we're open to anybody trying to figure it out?
Well, we talk of something specific. I don't understand why some people get a cold in the same room and the other people look out for everything else. In the old days, they did a study and they found out that you had antibodies. You know what that is? That's why you didn't get the cold.
Okay.
You had battling germs.
Yeah.
Or cells.
So
and
we got
so
the
on.
immunization.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what that is.
Right.
So in the old days, they couldn't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
They just said, I don't know.
No,
And
for
that's good
example,
to say that.
no, for example, you in your area, and I know we're still on the same topic, but if there is a technique that
Yeah.
works for me,
Yes.
I don't know why it works for me, but it
I
helps
have the
in,
same thing.
yeah,
Technique that works for me.
right,
How did
something,
I get it? Through making mistakes,
right.
through observing.
Yeah, but I can't
He said
explain.
about meditation, he has a technique that works for him.
So that technique works for me. It doesn't work for my wife,
I understand.
okay, but it works for me, and it helps
You can't
me.
communicate that method.
I can't explain it why it happens,
No.
but I definitely can say that I'm able to. My definition of the ego is kind of curtailed. It's not gone. I mean, I still have a problem. I mean, I would react to people, but it would be far reduced when I meditate more often. The more often
I
I
understand.
now I don't know why it works. Would there be the ability to talk or write books or have that in the future
If you
where
know
we
how.
can't explain it, but we know that
You
we
have
do
to
this, it
know-
works.
You have to know
Why?
how it works, not why. That's a religious question.
Okay.
Why? Because God wanted it.
All right.
How does it work?
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
That's good. But if you project and say, God gave me a consciousness that's brand new and different than other consciousness.
I wouldn't even
Right,
say
now,
that.
you
Because I don't
understand,
even know. I don't even know what God is.
We can't describe things either. We gave a name to this, a support structure, a table,
Right.
an end table, a chair. But the word we assigned is not the same word other people assign. You
Okay.
understand? But if you draw a chair in America, England, France, everybody knows what
Right.
you're doing. But if you say a chair in English, everyone knows what you're doing.
So that's
where
as far as
semantics comes.
these are simple things. But when it comes to things like meditation, I don't know how to explain it.
You don't even know how to go about looking for what it is.
Right.
So,
But I know the effects of
yeah,
that.
okay.
You
So
know.
the way you go about looking for what it is, you have to first make one move in one direction, check it out, and if it doesn't work, move in another direction. It doesn't work until it works, and you gain predictability. I never knew how to make a flying wing for passengers. I didn't know how because I was told not to.
Is it possible that everybody may not be interested in wanting to know how things work? Like I know if I turn that switch on, the light's going to go on,
Yeah.
and if I turn it off, it's going to go off. I really don't want to know the
How?
details and mechanics of how it
If
works.
you cut the wire, it'll go off.
Right.
When you move the switch, it cuts the wire.
Right. But does everybody need to go through the
No.
understanding in the future of why? If
you
somebody wants to
want
play music,
If you want to be able to look at the world and understand it,
right?
yes.
Oh.
But if everybody, architects, engineers, doctors, take care of your health, you don't need to know that.
Right.
But you'll want to know what you want.